Picture temperatures plunging so low that exposed skin could freeze in minutes. No heated homes, no modern clothing, no emergency services. For tens of thousands of years, ancient humans faced brutal winters exactly like this, and somehow, again and again, they survived. So how did they actually do it? During the depths of the last ice age, parts of Europe, Asia, and North America regularly dropped to temperatures we'd consider genuinely life-threatening today, sometimes well below freezing, for months at a stretch. This wasn't an occasional harsh season. For many ancient populations, this was simply what winter meant, year after year. Archaeological and skeletal evidence suggests winter and early spring were, for many ancient populations, the most dangerous stretch of the year, a season when stored food ran low, injuries healed slower in the cold, and a single mistake could mean the difference between survival and death. Survival didn't start when the first snow fell. Ancient humans almost certainly read seasonal signs, shifting animal behavior, changing plant cycles, dropping temperatures, as an early warning system, giving groups crucial weeks to prepare before conditions turned genuinely dangerous. Choosing where to spend winter was one of the most important decisions a group could make. South-facing slopes caught more sunlight. Natural windbreaks like cliffs or dense tree lines cut brutal wind chill. Proximity to a reliable water source, even in freezing conditions, was essential. Caves were prized winter shelters. Natural insulation kept interior temperatures far more stable than the world outside. But not just any cave would do. Ancient humans favored caves with narrow entrances that trapped heat, dry interiors that resisted damp, and enough depth to escape the worst of the wind. Where caves weren't available, ancient humans engineered their own shelters. In parts of Ice Age, Ukraine and Russia, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of huts built almost entirely from mammoth bones, skulls and leg bones forming a structural frame, likely covered with hides and packed with turf for insulation. Building a house out of a mammoth wasn't unusual. It was resourceful engineering. Fire wasn't optional in winter. It was the single most important survival tool ancient humans had. A well-maintained fire meant the difference between a livable shelter and a fatal one, providing warmth, light, protection from predators, and a way to cook food that would otherwise be nearly impossible to digest in the cold. Keeping that fire burning through an entire winter required serious planning. Groups stockpiled wood, dried dung, and even bone, which surprisingly can burn, collecting and storing fuel throughout the warmer months, specifically to survive the season when almost nothing could be gathered fresh. Clothing became a genuine technology. Ancient humans didn't just wrap themselves in hides, they tailored them, using bone needles and sinew thread to create fitted, layered garments that trapped body heat far more effectively than a loose animal skin ever could. Hands and feet were especially vulnerable to cold injury, so ancient winter clothing often included specially designed footwear insulated with dry grass or fur, along with mittens and coverings for the face, protecting the extremities most likely to suffer frostbite first. Food had to be secured months in advance. Late summer and autumn became a race against time, intensive hunting, fishing, and gathering, aimed specifically at building up enough of a stockpile to outlast a season when almost no fresh food would be available. Preservation made this possible. In genuinely freezing climates, meat could simply be frozen and stored in natural cold pits or crevices, essentially using the winter itself as a freezer. In milder regions, smoking and drying meat over fire served the same purpose, preventing spoilage for months at a time. Fat became especially prized in winter diets, calorie-dense, slow-burning, and critical for generating body heat. Ancient hunters often specifically targeted animals at times of year when they carried the most stored fat, and rendered animal fat was carefully saved as its own valuable winter resource. Hunting didn't stop in winter, it just got harder. Snow could actually help, preserving tracks that made animals easier to follow, but deep snow, reduced visibility, and dangerous ice made every hunt riskier than it was in warmer months, with far less margin for error. Even with careful planning, Late winter and early spring were often the leanest months of the year, stored food running dangerously low, just as fresh sources remained scarce. This narrowed down, dangerous window is reflected in skeletal evidence showing seasonal patterns of malnutrition in some ancient populations. Frostbite was a constant, serious threat, and without modern medicine, a bad case could mean losing fingers, toes, or worse. Ancient humans likely relied on close observation, quick action at the first signs of numbness, and whatever warming techniques their accumulated knowledge had taught them worked. Another hazard, snow blindness, a painful, temporary loss of vision caused by UV light reflecting off snow. Some ancient Arctic populations developed simple carved eye protection with narrow slits, a remarkably effective solution. Using nothing but bone or wood, centuries before sunglasses existed, when fire and clothing weren't quite enough, ancient humans relied on each other. Sleeping in close groups, huddled together under shared hides, used simple shared body heat as a genuine survival strategy. Warmth, in the coldest nights, was sometimes a team effort. Winter also meant close quarters for extended periods, which made illness spread faster and hit harder. With limited resources and no modern medicine, even a common respiratory infection carried real risk. Whatever plant-based remedies a group's healers knew became critically important during these months. Winter tested group cohesion as much as it tested individual toughness. Confined together for months, cooperation, patience, and fair sharing of scarce resources weren't just nice ideals, they were survival necessities. Groups that fractured under winter pressure were far less likely to make it through. Winter was hardest on the most vulnerable, young children, and the elderly, both more susceptible to cold and illness. Evidence suggests these members were often prioritized for the warmest sleeping positions and the most reliable share of stored food, a form of care built directly into survival strategy. Not every group stayed put. Some ancient populations practiced seasonal migration, deliberately moving toward milder regions, better shelter, or more reliable food sources before the harshest part of winter arrived, trading the effort of travel for a genuinely survivable season. Much of what we know comes from remarkable archaeological sites, preserved hearths, tool caches, and shelter remains, found across Ice Age Europe and Asia, frozen in time, and offering a rare, detailed window into exactly how these winter survival strategies actually worked, from carefully chosen caves and mammoth bone huts to tailored furs, stockpiled fat, and huddled warmth shared between neighbors. Surviving an Ice Age winter demanded planning, cooperation, and hard-won knowledge passed down across generations. It wasn't luck that got them through. It was preparation, resourcefulness, and each other.